say it, an unfortunate discovery tonight.
Yeah, so we unfortunately got a message from a client that they had been discharged from the warming hub just due to policy because of an interaction they had that was large in part due to a medical condition, diabetes. So yeah, we've been forced to come out and assist because there's nowhere else and nobody else to help at this point.
This woman is said that she's not a drug user or alcohol. It's more diabetic, homeless, and mental health.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy because I have her consent to call a spade here. She's a survivor of sexual abuse. She has complex mental health issues. On top of that, a number of medical conditions, very real medical conditions, including type 1 diabetes. She is the definition of a complex case of homelessness. And right now what we're seeing is the system taking her in, chewing her up, and spitting her out, and leaving her worse off because of it. That's just, it's just so shocking and appalling and sad to see.
No fault in it. The fault of the system more than anything, but you can tell that it's the system. But where was I going? There's just nothing. The training isn't there as well. That's where I was going. The training is over here. I thought, and it was my mistake, but I thought there was trained counselors here overnight, but there's just guards here.
Yeah, and you know what? It's no fault of theirs. There's none of that here.
Sorry to interrupt, guys, but can't be on property here, so
Okay, it's fine.
on the sidewalk.
Okay.
You can be.
Can't be,
Why not?
because the church doesn't want on the property in the outdoor.
So I can be here?
You can be on the sidewalk.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay, well, I'm just letting you know you can't be up in here, so
But you didn't say anything to them.
I'm here now talking with anyone who's over here. Right?
you
I'm
did-
not going to argue it with you.
Am
I'm
I
just
arguing?
asking
I'm
that you
not
go over
arguing.
to the
right?
sidewalk.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't say anything to them. Right?
Okay,
Right?
right. I'm talking now, though. Can't be on in the outlook here. Need to be over by the sidewalk. Okay?
Just to let you know. Forget it. It's okay. It's a kind of Rebel News Dave Menzies thing. It's not going to look good. Anyhow, can you tell me? They're not trained for it. Obviously, you can tell.
So we were just kicked off the property. Yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, what it is one organization runs it all here for overnight services, and that organization is not equipped for anything that's going on.
And you can, even in this, and as I say, I wasn't even going down this road. The only reason I was up there is because of the wind now, and it might be hard to hear. What I was saying now is, I guess even if you're a member of the church, you could get kicked off there.
Yeah,
By
absolutely.
what he
Yeah,
told
it's-
us, you could get kicked off
I'm
there.
actually super glad you just witnessed that.
Because as I say, like I've gone to this church before,
Yeah.
and I was just kicked off church property for doing an interview.
Yeah, because it makes transitioners look bad. They have county funding. Like I said to you the other day, it's every agency for themselves. They seem to be, so tight-lipped with each other. Nobody shares data. This is probably the worst county in the province for dealing with homelessness, and that's just based on our research and Maggie's experience and my experience with visiting other counties. It's appalling how this is being dealt with. You have no data sharing. You have no trained individuals overnight. You have mental health episodes that are not being dealt with correctly because these guys do not have trained to handle that. You heard him. He wasn't going to answer whether he has training or not because he doesn't. He doesn't have mental health crisis intervention training. So when somebody has a crisis, they don't deal with it. They kick them off the property and tell them to go deal with it themselves. And that is absolutely unacceptable.
Tell me about frustrating times, it seems.
Yeah, so we just had a talk with the Cobourg Police Service. Unfortunately, again, there's no resolution for this individual case. simply because they're not equipped. And this just goes back to the fact that we have a litany of patchwork solutions, and none of them communicate, none of them talk, and none of them are equipped to deal with complex cases such as this.
What we have in a roundabout way, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a 46-year-old woman that's been here since, I believe she said December, was kicked out of, was banned from Transition House and the warming room, and for something non-violent, like it wasn't any violence, wasn't an overdose, it was just she was rude or said things to the guards, and kicked out for a week. Yet there's people, I don't know how to say it, like apparently experiencing an overdose on the front steps, people chasing each other in the street, and yet they're allowed back in. Yet she's a diabetic. She was startled when she was awakened. That could possibly have led to some of the issues where she, maybe yelled or maybe was a little bit groggy and said some things she shouldn't have. Maybe her blood sugar. But she said that she doesn't take drugs, no alcohol, and yet there's no place for her. Is that right? Like, does that sum it up?
Yeah, like I said before, we'll call a spade because I have her permission. We have a 46-year-old survivor of sexual abuse who has roots in Cobourg. It's not like she's been shipped here from out of town. She has roots in Cobourg. She was assaulted in another district, has come here to seek respite from that. Has a trauma response when she's woken up with low blood sugar because she suffers from type 1 diabetes. And the reaction to that is to kick her out. This isn't the only case. This isn't an isolated incident. The reality is we have tons of people sleeping on the streets because the services in Northumberland are ineffective and are not equipped to deal with complex cases such as this.
One step also was she was also at the Northumberland Hills Hospital before, and they gave her the boot as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, the hospital is there to treat illness. At the end of the day, we can't expect them to house people, and the same with the police. The police are not crisis counselors. They're not, service or outreach workers. We can only expect them to do so much, and as we talk to the officer there now, everybody wants to help. Everybody on the front lines wants to help. It's just there's no solutions in place. And the crazy part is we're now jumping into Division Street, 315 Division Street, run by the same people that can't run a warming room. And yet we're expected to believe that this is going to be the be-all, end-all. Whereas if somebody like Charlotte got restricted from there, we're back to square one. Because it's the same agency that's causing these issues and that doesn't know how to run services.
And again, this is my first time in depth at this, as much as what you could call in depth. But I mean, still, I just want to get that out there that I was really surprised that there's literally no caseworkers, social workers, anybody in there other than security guards in there at the warming hub.
There's not. There's only security guards, which again is not their fault. It's how the county has set things up. The county executive team can say everything's fine and dandy when in reality you've brought it down to a security guard who has to decide that this person has to sleep on the streets because they're not equipped to deal with it. They don't know how to. They're not crisis counselors. For minimum wage, I wouldn't be a crisis counselor either.
You've just got into this a year ago or less, and now you're really you're deep into it now. But I mean, when you see stuff like this, and this is I don't want to say it's a perfect example because perfect shouldn't be used in this case, but I mean, it's a tragic example of how bad the system is.
Oh, it's awful. We honestly, and it's no fault of the outreach workers. We are on the brink of total collapse and failure with this system. It is so patchwork. You have workers who want to quit, outreach workers who want to quit because they're not given the resources. And it is just awful. And the county executive either has to move on or step up and work on fixing it. I don't even care if they work with us. They just have to work with somebody and realize that this does not work. Spend a night out on the streets like you are, Pete. See the reality of what we're dealing with night in, day out, and how absolutely messed up it is. It's not fair that on a rainy night, a 46-year-old with mental disability has to sleep on the street soaking. Next thing you know, it's going to be another death because of hypothermia. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous and a total failure of the leadership.